The black swan is a large water bird, a species of swan, which breeds mainly in the southeast and southwest regions of Australia. The species was hunted to extinction in New Zealand, but later reintroduced. Within Australia they are nomadic, with erratic migration patterns dependent upon climatic conditions. Black swans are large birds with mostly black plumage and red bills. They are monogamous breeders that share incubation duties and cygnet rearing between the sexes. Black swans have been introduced to various countries as an ornamental bird in the 1800s, but have escaped and formed stable populations. A small population of black swans exists on the River Thames at Marlow, and near the River Ridge in Hampshire. Described scientifically by English naturalist John Latham in 1790, the black swan was formerly placed into a monotypic genus, Chenopes. Black swans can be found singly, or in loose companies numbering into the hundreds or even thousands. Black swans are popular birds in zoological gardens and bird collections, and escapees are sometimes seen outside the natural range. Description: black swans are mostly black feathered birds with white flight feathers. The bill is bright red, with a pale bar and tip, and legs and feet are greyish-black. Cobs are slightly larger than pens, with a longer and straighter bill. Cygnets are a greyish-brown with pale-edged feathers. A mature black swan measures between 110 and 142 centimeters in length and weighs 3.7 to 9 kilograms. Its wingspan is between 1.6 and 2 meters. The neck is long and curved in an S shape. The black swan utters a musical and far-reaching bugle-like sound, called either on the water or in flight, as well as a range of softer crooning notes. It can also whistle, especially when disturbed while breeding and nesting. When swimming, black swans hold their necks arched or erect and often carry the feathers or wings raised in an aggressive display. In flight, a wedge of black swans will form as a line or a V, with the individual birds flying strongly with undulating long necks, making whistling sounds with their wings and baying, bugling or trumpeting calls. The black swan is unlike any other Australian bird, although in poor light and at long range it may be confused with a magpie goose in flight. However, the black swan can be distinguished by its much longer neck and slower wing beat. One captive population of black swans in Lakeland, Florida, has produced a few individuals which are a light mottled gray color instead of black. Distribution: the black swan is common in the wetlands of southwestern and eastern Australia and adjacent coastal islands. In the southwest, the range encompasses an area between Northwest Cape Leeuwin and Nucla, while in the east it covers a large region bounded by the Atherton Tableland, the Eyre Peninsula and Tasmania, with the Murray-Darling Basin supporting very large populations of black swans. It is uncommon in central and northern Australia. The black swan's preferred habitat extends across fresh, brackish and saltwater lakes, swamps and rivers with underwater and emergent vegetation for food and nesting materials. Permanent wetlands are preferred, including ornamental lakes, but black swans can also be found in flooded pastures and tidal mudflats, and occasionally on the open sea near islands of the shore. Black swans were once thought to be sedentary, but the species is now known to be highly nomadic. There is no set migratory pattern, but rather opportunistic responses to either rainfall or drought. In high rainfall years, emigration occurs from the southwest and southeast into the interior, with a reverse migration to these heartlands in dry years. When rain does fall in the arid central regions, black swans will migrate to these areas to nest and raise the young. However, should dry conditions return before the young have been raised, the adult birds will abandon the nests and their eggs as cygnets and return to wetter areas. Black swans, like many other waterfowl, lose all the flight feathers at once when they molt after breeding, and they are unable to fly for about a month. During this time they will usually settle on large open waters for safety. The species has a large range, with figures between 1 and 10 million km2 given as the extent of occurrence. The current global population is estimated to be up to 500,000 individuals. No threat of extinction. A significant decline in population has been identified with this numerous and widespread bird. Black swans were first seen by Europeans in 1697, when Willem de Vlaming's expedition explored the Swan River, Western Australia. Introduced populations before the arrival of the Maori in New Zealand. A subspecies of the black swan known as the New Zealand swan had developed in the islands, but was apparently hunted to extinction. In 1864, the Australian black swan was introduced to New Zealand as an ornamental waterfowl, and populations are now common on larger coastal or inland lakes, especially Rotorua Lakes, Lake Wairarapa, Lake Ellesmere, and the Chatham Islands. Black swans have also naturally flown to New Zealand, leading scientists to consider them a native rather than exotic species, although the present population appears to be largely descended from deliberate introductions. The black swan is also very popular as an ornamental waterbird in Western Europe, especially Britain, and escapees are commonly reported. As yet, the population in Britain is not considered to be self-sustaining, and so the species is not afforded admission to the official British list, but the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust have recorded a maximum of 9 breeding pairs in the UK in 2001, with an estimate of 43 feral birds in 2003-2004. A colony of black swans in Dawlish, Devon has become so well associated with the town that the bird has been the town's emblem for 40 years. A pair has also been seen living around Lake Junaluska, a large lake in Waynesville, North Carolina. There are also wild populations in Japan, having originally been imported during 1950 to 1960. Behavior, diet and feeding. The black swan is almost exclusively herbivorous, and while there is some regional and seasonal variation, the diet is generally dominated by aquatic and marshland plants. In New South Wales, the leaf of reed mace is the most important food of birds in wetlands, followed by submerged algae and aquatic plants such as Vallisneria. In Queensland, aquatic plants such as Potamogton, stoneworts, and algae are the dominant foods. The exact composition varies with water level. In flood situations where normal foods are out of reach, black swans will feed on pasture plants on shore. The black swan feeds in a similar manner to other swans. When feeding in shallow water, it will dip its head and neck under the water, and it is able to keep its head flat against the bottom while keeping its body horizontal. In deeper water, the bird upends to reach lower. Black swans are also able to filter feed at the water's surface. Nesting and reproduction. Like other swans, the black swan is largely monogamous, pairing for life. Recent studies have shown that around a third of all broods exhibit extra-pair paternity. An estimated 1/4 of all pairings are homosexual, mostly between males. They steal nests, or form temporary threesomes with females to obtain eggs, driving away the female after she lays the eggs. Generally, black swans in the southern hemisphere nest in the wetter winter months, occasionally in large colonies. A black swan nest is essentially a large heap or mound of reeds, grasses and weeds between 1 and 1.5 meters in diameter and up to 1 meter high, in shallow water or on islands. A nest is reused every year, restored or rebuilt as needed. Both parents share the care of the nest. A typical clutch contains 4 to 8 greenish-white eggs that are incubated for about 35 to 40 days. Incubation begins after the laying of the last egg, in order to synchronize the hatching of the chicks. Prior to the commencement of incubation, the parent will sit over the eggs without actually warming them. Both sexes incubate the eggs, with the female incubating at night. The changeover between incubation periods is marked by ritualized displays by both sexes. If eggs accidentally roll out of the nest, both sexes will retrieve the egg using the neck. Like all swans, black swans will aggressively defend the nests with the wings and beaks. After hatching, the cygnets are tended by the parents for about 9 months until fledging. Cygnets may ride on the parent's back for longer trips into deeper water, but black swans undertake this behavior less frequently than mutant black-necked swans. Relationship with humans. Conservation. The black swan is protected in New South Wales, Australia under the National Parks and Wildlife Act 1974. It is evaluated as least concern on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Australian culture. The black swan was a literary or artistic image even before the discovery of Cygnus atratus. Cultural reference has been based on symbolic contrast and is a distinctive motif. The black swan's role in Australian heraldry and culture extends to the first founding of the colonies in the 18th century. It has often been equated with Antipodean identity, the contrast to the white swan of the northern hemisphere indicating Australianness. The black swan is featured on the flag, and is both the state bird and state emblem of Western Australia. It also appears in the coat of arms and other iconography of the state's institutions. Indigenous Australia. The Noongar people of the southwest of Australia refer to the black swan by various local names: Cooljack along the west and southwest coast, Gooljack in the southeast, and sometimes referred to as Marley in language schools.